Hey everyone, my name is Lisa. I am an activist. I guess I have always been one, frankly, in my heart and in the earlier years of my career, which started a million years ago. I certainly was involved in marches and in all kinds of advocacy, public relations. And then fast forward a few years later, when family and kids and bills come along, you take a different route. And so I wound up getting eventually into the federal government, where I do pretty much the same work. But it's not the same as being in the grounds, in the trenches rather, and getting out there and fighting for causes for people who are marginalized. The things that have happened over the past few weeks, months really now, starting with the pandemic, coronavirus, and as we are dealing with that, watching again racism and police brutality and discrimination and hatred rear its ugly head in the national and international forefront this time. The two things combined together gave a perfect storm, or offered a perfect storm for me to rekindle that sense of activism and community that I had. And so, in a way, in spite of the tragedy and the losses that we've suffered as a community as a whole, not just the Black community, but I'm talking about the world community, all the things that we've suffered as a whole, it gives you time to think when you're blessed and able to telework. I have been in a number of causes, using my spare time for something good, using the time that I don't commute for an hour and a half each way every day. That's like 3 hours of extra energy that I have. The fact that my son is here, and when he was in school, I was able to monitor that, all those pressures off of me, and all this time that I had. I've been blessed and able to take up a couple of causes. And right now, in addition to some other things, I am working and very concerned about this. In about 3 weeks or less, the moratoriums on evictions are going to be lifted, or the moratorium, I should say, in Maryland. And that means that tens of thousands of Marylanders, and this includes families and children, face eviction, and through no fault of their own. The virus took everyone by surprise. It took jobs by surprise and income. And the hardest hit by all of this, as we all know, have been people who are in jobs not deemed essential but require a presence to be there. And it is people who are of lower income and whose circumstances don't allow them to work at home. It's those folks who have been hit the hardest. Now, I'm talking about Maryland because I happen to live here, and so I feel that I can do something about this. But really, in every state, pretty much, and I'm not really sure how many states and how many jurisdictions are lifting these moratoriums. But landlords are calling, for whatever reason, for all those months of rent to be paid immediately when they go to court. If you can't come up with 1 month's rent because you're unemployed, clearly you can't come up with 4 months' rent, thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't even see how that makes common sense, let alone human sense, humanity, a sense of compassion. The truth is, let's look at it from a business sense. Even if landlords were to move forward with these evictions, and I'm talking about massive evictions involving, I don't know how much in court costs. It must be at least like tens of thousands, if not upwards of $100,000 in court costs in mass. And that's collectively of all landlords just in Maryland, to file these suits, to pay the lawyers to go to court on their behalf, and to get this paperwork filed for all these individuals. That is a loss, but not to mention the fact that if you put the people out, Who exactly in a pandemic, how is your market going to be for other people to move in and take their place? Likely, they're going to have vacancies anyway, and so that's an extra loss of income. And that's just the business sense. Now let's get to the human part of it. You're throwing out families and people into the street because of a pandemic that no one saw coming or could control. And you're adding them to the homeless population for those that don't have anywhere to go. And even if they did, you're putting them out in the middle of a pandemic, which puts them at risk and others at risk. You're putting children through this. You're putting elderly people through this. People with underlying conditions, you're putting them through this. So this is an appeal to landlords, but it's also an appeal to our governor, Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland, to do a cancellation of rent, allow businesses to write their losses off, because we understand that renting property is a business, and give people the clean slate they need to move forward once they are able to return to work and garner some type of income. Again, if you cannot feel the human part of it, listen to the common sense and business part of it. So this is what I am doing this week, and some other things. I don't want to convolute the message too much, but I would like to say that everybody, I like to quote Gil Scott-Heron actually, and love him a lot, God rest his soul. In one of his songs, he says, "No one can do everything, but everyone can do something." And so this is my something, along with a couple of other, however many somethings I can pack into a day or a week and still take care of working and take care of my son. That's what I'm doing. Find an issue that's important to you. This really, it doesn't affect me maybe, but if it affects my neighbor, if it affects anyone, it should to some extent affect all of us. It doesn't have to directly apply to you. So I'm asking you to do something. And the ask for this, in stopping the evictions and appealing to Governor Hogan, is to go to change.org/cancel the rent in Maryland, or cancel the rent in MD. Go look for that link. I will share it also probably in the comments when I post this video. And do something similar in your state. Everybody knows someone who's renting if you're not renting yourself. And again, even if you're not in that situation, think about the others, particularly the children and the other vulnerable people who are, and love a little. Spend a little time loving on other people. Thank you, and God bless. Peace.